We opened it for teachers on Wednesday and Thursday. First day for students in the district as well as BCTC is on Tuesday the 23rd. We have put out the bus schedules are out. All of the schedules are out from the buildings. Everything is on Infinite Campus for parents. If someone has a problem logging in, just call the building main office. Guidance counselors in all three buildings have done an outstanding job with master schedules and helping the parents that are moving in. We have a lot of new enrollments. A lot of students coming back from our virtual programs back into the buildings, which is great to see a lot of faces we haven't seen since pre-COVID. Athletic members are up. They've been doing a lot of the practices, the preseason practice, so it's been fun watching the students out there. We've had marching band practice this year, and although they are small, they are mighty. They actually sound really good after day 3. So Ms. Paulus stepped up, as Mr. Giffen had a family issue that he was out this week. So that's really nice having the two of them work together. And we actually have 8th graders joining us here at the high school in marching band this year. And it's nice to see their enthusiasm and being pushed in musically. And they have a lot of parades in the docket. I know if you're following them on Facebook, you'll see their schedule. Very active with the first kind of performance of the year will be the community parade on the 10th of September. And I understand from working with the community groups involved in that activity is growing, and that is going to be a major event in the Valley. So we're excited to be part of that. We've been working closely also with the foundation and all the grants and the $85,000 that they've given us this year and continue to give us in funding for our teacher programs and our student activities. Also with the Olo Valley Business Association and having the guest speakers and working with the partnerships for the internships. So we really appreciate all the work that has gone into all of that this summer as well. Buildings Grounds is underway. We're finalizing projects. It'll take us a little bit behind schedule, but we'll be good to go by Labor Day. And we already have over almost 60 students signed up for fair setup, which is actually the weekend before Labor Day because of how the schedule fell this year. So we're really excited that so many students are getting involved in that early on. And then, of course, the senior class and the cider stand and the apple pressing and all the other things that are doing. Kids are signing up and they're excited, and we're looking forward to having a great year and opening on the 23rd.
One question on the band, the new uniforms, what's the status?
They're in and ready for uniform fitting starting Monday.
Super, thank you. Anybody have any questions for Superintendent? I just asked at the minutes, notice that Mrs. Pfeiffer and Mr. Keller are with us also. And then moving on to committee reports, starting with budget and finance.
Thank you, Mr. Heckman. Appreciate it. I have 3 motions for action this evening. I'd like to take all 3 motions as listed.
Dr. Markley moves on items 1, 2, and 3. Dr. Patkin seconds. Questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Heckman?
Yes.
Keller?
Yes.
Markley?
Yes.
Pollock?
Yes.
Sackett?
Yes.
Pfeiffer?
Yes.
Motion approved.
Okay.
Yes. Appreciate it. Under information, it's reported that charter school expenditures for the Olo Valley School District for use in the school year 22-23 are as listed. Information regarding teasers, trends, and projections that was presented. Upcoming meetings to be determined. That's it.
Dr. Markley. Moving on to personnel. Personnel committee has 17 motions for this evening. If it pleases the board, since these were reviewed on Monday evening, I'd like to take items 1 through 17 as listed.
I would like to pull 11 and 12.
Dr. Markley seconds. Maria?
11 and 12 to vote separately. That has not been discussed on Monday for once, but also I'm going to vote no on that.
Do you want to leave a minute and vote no, or you want those separate?
Correct.
Okay. So my motion will be for 1 through 17, except for 12 and 13.
11 and 12.
11 and 12. Okay. 11 and 12. Okay. Questions or comments on items 1 through 10 and then 13 through 17? Moving on to roll call vote, please.
Keller?
Yes.
Markley?
Yes.
Pollock?
Yes.
Sackett?
Yes.
Pfeiffer?
Yes.
Patkin?
Yes.
Heckman?
Yes. Motion approved. And then we'll make a motion for items 11 and 12 as listed. Dr. Markley, seconds. Thank you. Mrs. Piper, questions or comments?
I'm gonna vote no.
Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Markley,
Yes.
Perry, Pollock,
Yes.
Zacking,
Yes.
Piper,
No.
Atkins,
Yes.
Heckman,
Yes.
Keller,
No.
Motion approved. And for information, next meeting is September 12th, 6:30 p.m. We'll move to the policy committee, Dr. Feckin.
Yeah, just we'll lump both those in order tonight. Motion to approve the following changes to deletions, archiving policies. 6.1 electronic record signatures moved to the 800 operations. And motion 2 to approve the following policy, 600 section finance for first reading.
Dr. Feckin moves on items 1 and 2. Dr. Markley, seconds. Questions or comments?
I have a question. Dr. Shank, you had mentioned there was a section of policies we may want to pull some out. Can you, which section were you referring to? That there were some things that we might want to look back at some point.
that would be this, you mean as far as more discussion?
We talked about, you said these policies, there's a certain section that we may want to look at certain policies or pull them out.
That's in the 7s and the 9s.
Okay.
And then when I go through them, I didn't want to pull them all out at one time,
That's fine.
so. But like, when we talk about the fee schedule for, facility use is one that's a really big discussion item because you want to up your fees, not up your fees, those kind of things. And then there's usually 1 or 2 in the community use section. And then the other one that we had started talking about was the public comment, to make sure that is working the way you want it to. But I actually will star those for you ahead of time, because I'll actually ask you in this policy, I have questions on, do you want to do this? Do you want to look at this? And then you all can tell me what you want to do or not do. And then,
That's fine.
and the rest of them are, the others are just kind of what they are. But there are a couple where you have to set fees or you have to set a process.
Yeah.
So I will question, do you want to do what you've always done, which is this, or do you want to change it to something else?
Okay. Thank you.
Any questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Pollock,
Yes.
Zacking,
Yes.
Piper,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Heckman,
Yes.
Keller,
No.
Markley.
6-1 motion approved.
Oh, my bad. Next meeting date is September 12th, 2022.
Great, thank you, Dr. Feckin. Dr. Markley, with you.
Thank you, Mr. Heckman. I have 9 motions for action this evening. I'd like to take all 9 since we had discussed these Monday evening, unless another board member would like to pull any.
Number 2.
Okay, I'll be moving on items 1 through 9
Pull number 2, please.
minus number 2.
So the motions 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Sorry, and also motion number 5, because we did not discuss this on Monday.
We have a second. 1 through 9 minus 2 and 5. We need a second on the motion. Mrs. Atkins, seconds. Thank you. Questions, comments on 1, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Zacking,
Yes.
Piper,
Yes.
Atkins,
Yes.
Heckman,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Markley,
Yes.
Pollock.
Yes.
6-1 motion approved.
Now motions 2 and 5.
Together?
Yes.
Okay, Dr. Martin moves on motions 2 and 5. You
Yeah, that's right.
have second. Mrs. Atkins moves, seconds, thank you. Now, 2 and 5, questions or comments? What's your question on 2?
I raised the question concerning this on Monday. I still have to.
Are there questions from the board?
I only requested Dr. Shank to provide me with information how to file the challenges.
I sent it to you via email.
We got them?
That was sent out
Yeah, I
Monday.
did not see that yet, so thank you.
No other questions or comments?
No.
Roll call vote, please.
Piper,
No,
Atkins,
Yes.
Peckman,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Markley,
Yes.
Pollock,
yes,
Zachary.
yeah,
Motion approved, 6-1.
Under information, we have information regarding PSSA and Keystone assessments data will be presented on Monday. Our next meeting date is September 12th, 2022. That's it for curriculum.
Thank you, Dr. Markley. Move to parking and transportation, Mrs. Piper.
there's only one, there are two motions. Take them together unless there's any questions.
Mrs. Piper
Yes,
moves on
two.
items 1 and 2. Do a second. Dr. Fatkin, second, thank you. Now, questions or comments on 1 and 2?
I have a question in regard to special education transportation. Is that anything different that what we have? I know that for the budget, we voted to have special ed additional staff. So we don't have to transport kids out of the area, that they could stay in the area and have special ed. Is that something? Is that transportation anything different than what we discussed? When we discussed the budget.
No, you're required by law to transport special education students to wherever their placement is, as well as in district as well and out of district both, based on their needs, their disability, and their IEP goals,
So this transportation is for in district.
and out of district.
We still have out of district.
Oh, yeah, we will always have out of district.
So then what was the purpose of increasing the in-district services?
So that you don't have to place students out of district, but you will always have students out of district.
So less students going out of the district, more here or less going outside. But I agree, you're still going to have some that are going to have to go to special ed at other sites beyond the district.
Correct. As well as your settlements and your court placed and all of the others that we have to do under IDEA.
Would you be able to do like next year comparison in the budget for how our decisions affected that? Do we have more in-house students now, even with the special ed than was before? Because I know we hired quite a few teachers.
That you won't have any of that. That information will fluctuate between today and the end of the school year.
Yeah, no, it just, I'm asking to provide next year, like a yearly annual recap of how our decision, our vote actually affected the budget.
You get all that information every year on what's called the Penn data report is presented every year in December. You get that every year now.
With a comparison, correct?
Yes, it's all, you get that every year. You've already gotten that for last year and you'll get it again this year. That's standard protocol.
Other questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Patkin,
Yes.
Peckman,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Markley,
Yes.
Pollock,
yes,
Zachary,
Yes.
Piper.
Yes.
A motion approved.
Next meeting, we're going to have information.
Thank you, Mrs. Piper. Student activities, Dr. Mark, will you handle that, please?
Absolutely, Mr. Heckman. I have 5 motions for action. I will take all 5 together as listed.
Dr. Mark moves on items 1 through 5 as listed. Second, Dr. Patton, second. Thank you. Questions or comments on 1 through 5? Roll call vote, please.
Peckman,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Markley,
Yes.
Pollock,
yes,
Zachary,
Yes.
Piper,
Yes.
Patkin,
Yes.
Motion approved.
Under information, as a reminder, that the district only offers transportation to students who participate in athletic cooperative agreement programs to after-school events as drivers and vehicles are available. The district does not transport participants to evening practices, games, or weekend events. Number 2, it's reported as a reminder that the cooperative agreement participation fees will not be charged to participants beginning with the 22-23 school year. Next meeting date is September 12th, 2022.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Martley. Legislative, Mrs. Akin.
I have no report this evening.
Thank you. PCIU, Mrs. Jackson isn't here. I'm sure she'll report for us next week. Ag Advisory Committee, Mr. Keller?
I have nothing new to report.
Thank you. And under negotiations, Mr. Park, if you don't mind, I'll make that motion.
Please.
The motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between the Ojai Valley Educational Association and the Ojai Valley School District regarding the pre-K campus program and the employment of a long-term substitute teacher. I so move. Dr. Markley seconds. Questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Keller,
Yes.
Markley. Yes.
Yes.
Sackett,
Yes.
Piper,
Yes.
Backhand,
Yes.
Heckman.
Yes, motion approved. Thank you. Moving on to Career and Technology Center. We have no meeting in the month of July, so there's no JOC or minutes. The one thing I will mention, just for information, the BCTC will have 2 stands during the Valley Fair. Yesterday, we had one little tabletop set up, and I was rather frustrated with the lack of participation. So we're going all out this year. We will have 2 stands. One stand will be student participants. There will be a welding simulator where I have my glasses with me. We're going to have them simulate doing some welding. They're going to be talking about health and safety, some culinary activities, maybe doing a little baking or bringing some cookies in, a little bit of everything. So we're going to showcase what our students are doing. Tell you what at the fair. The second site we'll have, which will be down close to the ag buildings, we will bring one of our trailers in from our CDL instruction program. However, there's not enough room, so we'll have probably one of the tractors as well as some of the heavy equipment that we're using at the quarry in back of Oley. So again, looking for a lot of good positive press from BCTC for that.
Dr. Heckman, BCTC also, that's where you have the hairdressers and
Yes.
all the person. Aaron, I'm telling you, it's been fantastic. My
That's not what I
kids,
was laughing about.
no, this is something good to say about it.
It's
The
phenomenal,
services are phenomenal.
Yeah.
The quality is exceptional, and it's like a hidden gem on the budget. It's literally it's amazing, honestly amazing.
Do they still do lunches?
They were interrupted a lot through COVID, but I think in October they're going to start again with lunches at both the east and west campuses. We have about 75 students from Ojai Valley High School attending. It's just phenomenal. I know Dr. Fackham were able to join us on tour. Just the energy in the place and the teachers, the energy and the professionalism of the students and teachers is really top notch. So,
But the lunches were awesome.
lunches were good too. In fact, in October, once we get the fair behind us, I'm going to arrange for another tour in the student built house as it's completed. So some of us saw that in the beginning, some in the middle, like for all of us to go over and see that as we're wrapping up that building, getting ready to sell it.
Dr. Heckman, could you email something that's the services that's available open to the public once the school gets back in session? Because honestly, it was just the best service for the buck.
What can they do for this? I don't know, man.
I'm telling you, they will even out all your whiskers.
I'm going to get more information out. I'm always very happy to have information go out on BCTC and the programs we have. So thank you. BIT, Mrs. Wayne.
Thank you, Mr. Heckman. No report tonight. Next meeting is September 29. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mrs. Atkins, anything from communications?
I'll wait till next week.
Okay, very good.
Ms.
Thank you.
Barron will be back.
And Secretary's report?
I'm here to thank you, card received from Christina Kaufman for the board gift and the board scholarship from her last year's senior rep. And also one from the Ojai Valley Business Association for our support and their activities that will be this weekend at the Peach Festival. All of your October district activities through the end of September are listed for your review.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Shea. And I'll make a motion to approve the Ojai Valley Health and Safety Plan for the 22-23 school year as required by Pennsylvania Department of Education. I so move. Dr. Markey seconds. Questions or comments?
I have a question. My understanding that there is no requirement for contact tracing. Do we still have it in our health and safety plan?
No,
That we still count the numbers?
we are required to count the numbers of the positive case, and I must report them every Friday by 5 p.m.
Okay.
Other questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Markley? Yes. Howard?
Yes.
Sakian?
Yes.
Piper?
Yes.
Fatkin?
Yes.
Heckman?
Yes.
Keller?
Yes. Motion approved. Thank you. I don't have any additional information on that. Board members, any unfinished business? Board members, any new business?
I have a couple things. While we were trying to get in the building, I went through the main entrance and that entry patch panel that you go through. There was one question that kind of bothered me about the COVID test. That's proprietary information. It's the health information that, it's in a sense, we were like tracing a HIPAA violation. You were asking people to provide you with information whether or not they received the COVID test. That's up to them to tell. Like, there's no opt-out button on this.
Was that at this building?
Yeah, that's it, the main entrance.
Okay.
Part of the new visitor systems that we've had to put in are if you've had a COVID test in the last several days, like anywhere else, then you can't enter a building that's a public building.
Okay.
It's the same like you go anywhere else. So we have that on our, we upgraded our security systems, as you know, in all of our buildings.
Mhm.
So instead of the Raptor, where we would have to open the window to allow to have the people give us our card and then our staff runs it, we now have where like you go to a lot of places, you come in, you enter all your information yourself, you answer the questions, and then it prints out your badge. So that if somebody is trying to get in who doesn't have a good intention, our staff does not have to flip the window up and open a space anymore, that all of that is done before, which also gives them more time to respond. But that COVID question is one we have to ask because they're not allowed to enter the building if you've had a COVID test within the last several days.
So that's the question. If you had
Positive COVID test.
If a positive COVID test, you can't come in.
within the last how many?
I'd have to look at it. I mean,
That's the question she's referring to.
Yeah.
Okay.
because if you have positive COVID test, you shouldn't be in school.
Well, is there questions? Have you been tested? That's the question, is not even there.
I'd have to, so I haven't looked at it since we implemented it over a month ago. I'd have to check that.
Yeah, it's probably like a good idea to check it out and see, because if you're not tested and then,
Then the answer is no.
So then the answer, yeah.
well, no, that's not the answer to the question.
Then the answer is no. That's the answer.
Mr. Keller?
So I have a question. As a parent, more than a board member, why are we doing band camp from 9 to 3 or 9 to 2 or 10 to 2 during the week?
Because it was supposed to be all day.
I mean, look, I'm coming at it from when I was back in the dark ages. I realized, we did it in the evening.
No, they've had it during the day for years.
I mean, I've never done band camp in the day during the week.
I've always done band camp in the day
Why?
because that's when you do most of your practicing, like all the athletics and everything else. Their normal rehearsals are in the evening, but camp is always during the day. Normally it runs 9 to 3, but because of the issue that a family issue.
Well, I
shortened it.
understand.
But yeah, we've run band camp in the daytime for years. I mean, I'm just looking at Dr. Markley because he predates me, but I know at least in the last 7-8 years.
That sounds terrible what you said. I predate you.
Well, I know, but you were here.
We actually did both. We did during the day and then we did the rehearsals in the evening. Yes.
Yeah, so they right now the band camp is during the day. They do run even the percussion and band front come in and they've been running from 9 to 3, and then the winds are in from 10 to 2 right now, and then they come once we start back, then they go into their evening rehearsals. But that's not uncommon. Most band camps are 2 weeks and they're during the day. They only do because they don't do field shows. They only do one week here. But that's been years.
I think the other impact is the number of students who are in band and soccer or field hockey or whatever.
Working.
Maybe.
Yeah, work commitments and church and some other things. That's just the way it's been for a long time.
Okay, well, it's a rather inconvenient if you both work. And grandparents live over a half an hour away from it. So I was taken aback. Because I go back to Bruce Pets. And we did not do it during the day. So, anyway, that's, I guess there's nothing I can do but just complain. So that's my new business.
I have one item for not new business, but new news. I was up in State College in Center County last week. I love Black and Shannon State Park. It's quiet. There's no phone service, no nothing. So I missed you all on Monday. My apologies, but it's wonderful. But while I was up there, my wife and I did attend Ag Progress Days. Ag Progress Days is the largest outdoor agricultural exhibit in the Commonwealth. It's like taking the Ole Fair and the Pennsylvania Farm Show, put it all together on steroids. It is incredibly large agricultural things that I've never seen before. It's just absolutely phenomenal. I learned a whole lot. But I was hoping to run into some of our students while I was up there. Unfortunately, talking to Mr. Deisher, they're actually up there today. We leave at 10 o'clock, they head down here. So I did not get to see them up there, but 3 of our students were actually escorted to the Ag Progress Days by County Commissioner Leinbach. He escorted our 3 students up there. They had lunch with the Secretary of Agriculture, Agricultural Secretary Redding. And those 3 students, just to give you some names, are Jay Haupt, who's president of FFA, Allison Riley, who's vice president, and Leah Walters, who's one of the reporters. So it's kind of neat to have, as big, and there are thousands of people there, to know that 3 of our students are up there representing Ole Valley, meeting the Secretary of Ed, having Commissioner Leinbach take them up there. I thought that was great news, and it'll probably be in the news somewhere or whatever, but I thought it was important that the board understand what our students are doing. These are very intelligent students. As Mr. Deisher mentioned to me, that these are very soon to be leaders in the community, and not only the ag community, but the Ole Valley community. So very bright kids. So I just said, you know, good news at the end of the meeting here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else for this evening?
I have a comment in regard to the meeting that was on Monday. And then Dr. Sheng, that would be for you. When you referred to PSSAs and so-called movement in 7th and 8th graders not to take those exams, I personally resented. First of all, there was no movement that I know. I have both kids at that time was in 7th and 8th grade. And as a parent, I made a decision for them not to participate in PSSA. I really was taken back by that comment that you referred to parents that they decided not to subject their children to taking PSSAs as a movement.
It was a movement because we've never had that many, and some of them had actually stated that they heard from other parents stating that they should come in. I did not use your name. I did not allude to that it was you. I had stated that we had but we did have parents who came in and said other parents said I should come in and do this. That is why I used the words that I did.
Anybody can say you should, because parents come and choose to do that. It's still not a movement.
Well, it depends on, that's your opinion and I have mine. And
again,
we can agree to disagree. And I did not mention your name. I didn't even look at you. So I'm just saying that is what it was. That was the words that were used. That is the words that the middle schools was using. We have never had that many, and especially the negative impact that it has had not on our scores, but on our teachers and on their efficiency and some of the others. And people don't understand that, yes, I'm not a proponent of state testing either. If I could be Secretary of Ed and make it go away, I would do it tomorrow. But it's not something we have control over. But I do have a problem with the fact that because people do choose to do it without the true understanding of what it does systemically to some of our best and brightest teachers, and it's not their fault. And this, as Dr. Packard pointed out, it's not going to change. And the thing is, if a teacher gets 2 needs improvements in a 10-year period, they lose their job. And then, and as a young teacher, like, you know, the system is set up for failure of education. At the same time, we can't get people to become educators because nobody wants to do this job anymore. But at the same time, education has set itself up for failure. And then we have these test scores that we don't really, and I've said it for 12 years now, I do not measure our success of our students based on test scores. But we have had parents in the middle school and 7th and 8th grade who have made it themselves very vocal about why they came in and what they said to do. I did not say it was you. I did not allude to the fact that it was you.
I was not aware of the movement.
And that's fine that you weren't aware of it, but you don't live my world and I don't live your world. But I have a right to my opinion and I have a right to share the information that we deal with every day on the front lines.
And then as a parent, I chose not to subject my children to that test.
And that's your right.
Exactly.
Right. So that, and that's fine.
I don't want.
And I'm not judging you as a parent. I'm just saying that we had a lot of people that came in and gave us different information. And I shared that with the board because that is my job. And that is the impact that it had. And that because people need to understand, and the board needs to understand when we look at those scores, that we would have been, this percentage is 10, 12% higher than what we're showing if it were not for the opt-out. So I don't want the math and English teachers in 7th and 8th grade being unfairly judged because they are good teachers because they got hurt because of the opt-outs and not make that known to the public. Because people, when they're funded in the Reading Eagle, will rank us. They will talk about how terrible our 7th and 8th grade is and how bad those teachers must be and how bad the district must be based on the Reading Eagle. That people need to understand there are variables beyond our control that are causing those scores. And people have their choice, and they will always have their choice. And that's what public education in the state of Pennsylvania is about, parent choice. And that's all right. But there are unintended consequences with those choices. And people need to understand that. And maybe still what they want to do, and they're still going to opt out, and they're still going to not take the test, and that's all fine. But when you're trying to justify when you get stopped in the grocery store why the 8th grade or the 5th grade was at 30% proficiency in math, at least you can say to them, hey, you know, we have a lot of opt-outs, and those opt-outs cost us 12%. So don't judge us based on that, because there's a lot of other stuff going on behind the scenes that you have nothing to know about that the Reading Eagle's not going to print. So, like, back off. And that's why I do what I do, because you need to understand there's a bigger picture than just those baby test scores that come out. There's a bigger picture when you look at our AP scores, because our AP scores, we put kids in AP classes that will never score 4s and 5s on an AP exam. They may never score 3 on an AP exam, but they're in there to challenge themselves and get themselves ready for college and push themselves academically and learn all of the pieces they need to learn to study, time management, AP and studying and all the other pieces that go with it, because they need that for life beyond high school. But they're not ever going to score a 3 or 4 or a 5. So yes, they're going to pull down our averages. So if you're going to base this against the line missing, whose AP scores are off the charts, and they are, who only have their top kids in the APs getting 4s and 5s, which is why they're in the U.S. World Report in the top 100, because it's based on AP scores. Well, you look at ours, and we put our eggs in the dual enrollment basket, and every of the 170 some kids who took the project lead delay exam at the end of the year were proficient or advanced. They all got college credit from 9th grade through senior year. We have freshmen coming out of last year's freshman class with 9 college credits for $100. Like, you know, whether they use them now or they use them, you know, after, you know, they're out for a while or military or whatever, that's pretty good bang for your buck. But there's more that goes on behind the scenes that the average non-educated person who doesn't live by our world every day needs to understand the unintended consequences that come into the decisions that parents have a right to make. And they can make them, and that we don't really care. But people need to understand before they start to judge us, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that happens behind the scenes. And that's what I explained what I did on Monday.
So the movement you said about, or whatever, the parents did what now?
We had more parents coming in opting out in 7th and 8th grade than we have ever
So they
had
have to
before.
physically come in and
Yes, you have to.
work out. Okay. 'Cause you're saying this and I'm going, okay.
Yeah, you have the procedure is you have to come in, you have to review the test. There's certain reasons which, you know, that they can opt out. The PSSAs are the keystones on.
Okay, gotcha.
And then there's a procedure you have to go, it has to be supervised, there's all this stuff. But anyway, we've had more people coming in, and then we also talked to them about the exam and try to figure out why and how. And some of it is, you know, is truly to do with the child, and some of we really understand why they're opting their child out. We also don't understand what do we need to do differently. So we try to have those conversations a lot of times with parents. Like, do you feel that we put too much pressure on it? Do we feel is it a political view?
So it's actually a constructive thing that they do come in.
Yeah, so we try to have a conversation with parents when they come in, and then they're like, "No, I got a call from so that from another parent because we don't want to know who, because we don't really care." And is that they said I really should come in and do this. That this is not good because the government gets my information or it's something else. And we're like, okay, well that at least we know it's not us. I mean, you have a right as a parent. You can think whatever you want. I mean, that's your choice. But at least there's nothing we can do to address that. We're not going to change your governmental views. We're not going to change your political views. That's not why we're here. But if you're coming in saying, well, the 8th grade math teachers are telling my kid that if they fail this test, they're going to lose their job. Yeah, we need to fix that. Do you know what I mean? And that's happened because some teachers really put pressure on kids instead of just teaching their content.
Well, it seems pretty clear that if something like that goes on, that you have a lot of opt-outs, that wouldn't reflect poorly on the teachers.
It does in the way that it does, on the way that the scoring and the evaluation system under Act 14.
Then we need to get a movement together to correct that.
Yeah, and that's Harrisburg.
And you're right.
Well, that's gotta happen.
It's not.
It's not going to happen.
It's gotta.
You're looking at probably
If enough people create enough of a ruckus about it,
but
that's ridiculous.
like right now that's what we were talking about on Monday, and that's what Dr. Orr had presented last month too, was with Act 13. When they changed the system and the weighting, they actually did a detriment to a lot of our teachers in the way that it's now functioned, because they're using a growth model to evaluate teachers, but with the test scores involved in it, the way that it is, some of these teachers who are borderline needs improvement in a low what's called SVP score, is actually not going to help them, and it's no fault of their own. Because they could be proficient, and yet because of the weighting and how everything else works, and then that's all done in Harrisburg. It doesn't matter what we say; it's the way that that's all calculated, because they made the changes up there, and I've talked about that before. Like Harrisburg does what Harrisburg wants. That's where the changes have to happen. It's not the local level. The changes have to happen in Harrisburg.
Yeah, but if enough people come in on the local level and do that at every school,
Harrisburg,
Harrisburg's going to be forced to do it.
but you have to.
That's how that works on the local level.
Correct.
Everything needs to start at the local level.
But the local level has to go to Harrisburg. But even look at, and I almost exactly used to go before COVID, but the advocacy days and the meet with the senator days and all that other stuff that's run, nobody shows up. I did the last one that was this summer, there were probably 40 people on the Capitol steps on advocacy days.
It's a problem.
And then, so they're not going to listen. I mean, that's just the way it works. But that's where, it's like the floodgates opened this year in 7th
You
grade.
can still write.
Yeah.
I mean, I write all the time. All the time.
And then you can talk to your local representatives, your state senators.
It's got to come through constituent pressure. There's got to be enough constituents putting pressure.
Across the state.
That's the problem.
And not just localized in one generic area. And that's where the problem comes in, because there are parts of the state who really aren't going to mobilize in any fashion. And there's other parts of the state that mobilize really well. And then, but it has to be a statewide initiative, because you're talking all the educators in the state of Pennsylvania. It's sort of like we talk about, I don't know if you follow what's happening, but they're talking about the certification reg changes. Certification reg changes is going to put bodies in your classroom. You're not going to have quality in your classroom.
Quality. I don't. Well, right.
You're going to have a lot of people, but doesn't mean they're going to be able to teach math or science or social studies or elementary or whatever, but they're certified. Because it's a knee-jerk, not just on my soapbox, so I'll stop. But
Well, maybe for not just the new members, but for all the members of the board, there's a document that the intermediate unit has put together. Last time I saw it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago. It's all the unfunded mandates that PDE puts upon us. All the things that we have to do based upon PDE regulations and the like, where we're not getting paid and it costs us money. And it's page after page of unfunded mandates. And again, it kind of ties in with what we're talking about here. I'll give Dr. Hackman a call and see if I can't get copies of that for everybody in the next couple of weeks.
Mrs. Jackson had sent that out in April.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, to everybody. I mean, even the state budget came out with all these unfunded mandates. We now have more training to do that we have to pay teachers for $19 an hour to sit through all this training that means nothing because they're professionals and they already have the training, but every year it's costing us time and money because they put a mandate out. We have to do it, but there's no funding tied to it. But that's part of the state budget. It was tied to if they want the budget, we have to do this. So like the Act 55 grants, we struggled today to find things in the Act 55 safety grant, which in some ways is a good thing. There's nothing in the grant that we haven't done. And we don't want to spend money on something that either buy a person that you got to get rid of in a year or buy something you don't need. But we are like every checkbox in all three tiers, we are locked on. You know, we are number 51 out of 495 in the state of Pennsylvania for the safest schools, which is not bad considering, you know, 295 public schools in the state of Pennsylvania. We're number 51 in terms of safety. And that's on last year's data, which was before the entrances. So like some of those pieces is like that we're like, okay, now what do we do with this? So because you don't want to spend money to waste it. But at the same time, it's like, okay, they took money out of the general fund budget, stuck it in these Act 55 grants to make it look good, gave us $93,000 in the state budget instead of the $500,000 they told us in February. So they got all tout. Like that doesn't help us. I mean, you saw the list that was, you know, it's on the agenda for Monday night. The disparity across the county alone as to who got what. I mean, Ole and Fleetwood were the two lowest. Who got the hits the hardest out of the entire state budget. So, you know, that's all part of the public ed pieces and, you know, how they all do that. And that's where you have to continue to fight and we continue to pressure. But it's just it's a different world. And
Anyone else?
PPE needs to go.
Dr. Markley moves for adjournment. Mrs. Zach in seconds. Those in favor of adjournment, please signify by aye. Opposed, no. Thank you, everybody. Take care.
Take care, folks. See you next week.
See you, Greg.